Hello and welcome to Hindsight with me, Shegun Ojumu. This week on Hindsight, the King of Morocco, Mohammed VI, was in Nigeria, and that was last week. He came to Nigeria accompanied by a 300-man delegation, a signal of the import of his first visit to Nigeria since he became king in 1999. During the course of his stay in Nigeria and the Kingdom of Morocco signed several agreements and memoranda of understanding aimed at deepening bilateral ties between both countries. Chief among the agreements was the decision to build a regional gas pipeline project that will connect Nigeria's gas resources to those of several West African countries and, of course, Morocco. STV Status correspondent Kendi Amodu covered that meeting.
The King of Morocco is in Nigeria with a large business delegation which seeks to expand the boundaries of business cooperation between both countries. Agreements were signed on promotion and protection of investments, agriculture, banking, science and technology, sustainable development, among other sectors. Captains of industry in Nigeria believe that the agreement signed will help to shorten the recession in the country by bringing in business and expanding Nigeria's trade interests.
What we have done today, in my viewpoint, will help to further shorten our recession and take us to economic prosperity and boom again. And I say this from the depth of my heart. I like it when our political leaders, our presidents, begin to create platforms and opportunities like this for private sector to do well, because it is private sector that will help to create employment.
And since this administration is determined to diversify the economy principally into agriculture, the Memorandum of Understanding on Agriculture Financing is a scoop.
We're just getting into the business of guaranteeing agricultural finance, so there's synergy. And we see a lot of points of synergy along the value chain. We will learn a lot of models from them, and they will learn practical agriculture in the tropics, like where we are in Nigeria. So we see a lot of points of synergy. Two, there is the possibility of market access, because Morocco is close to Europe, just across the Mediterranean.
But perhaps the major coup is the agreement between both countries to develop a regional gas pipeline project that would connect Nigeria's gas resources to those of several West African countries and Morocco.
The pipeline will be designed with the participation of all stakeholders with the objective of 1. Accelerating electrification projects across the region, thereby serving as a backbone for the creation of a competitive regional electricity market with the potential to be connected to the European energy market.
President Muhammadu Buhari and the Moroccan King Mohammed VI were witnesses to the signing of the agreements. It is projected that in the short and medium terms, the material gains from this two-day visit could run into billions of dollars. Besides the economic gains, the visit, according to watchers, may see Morocco pushing for Nigeria to reconsider its stance on Western Sahara.
Still talking visits. Soon after the Moroccan monarch's departure, the president of Liberia also came into town. She arrived on Sunday, and her first port of call was the ECOWAS Commission. She, of course, is the chair of the Authority of ECOWAS Heads of State and Government. She is the first chair to visit the commission, where she held closed-door talks with the president of the ECOWAS Commission, Master Alain de Souza. On Monday, she was also in a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari. Again, our status correspondent Kendi Amodu was there.
As Mrs. Johnson Sirleaf nears the end of her 2 terms in office as president of Liberia, she is being commended for the relative peace and stability she has brought to the country. It has been a hard-fought-for peace through years of wanton destruction, civil war and strife, all through which Nigeria has stood by the West African country. And the president of Nigeria is promising to continue to support Liberia, describing the country as a dependable partner. Using the wisdom she had employed in our country on the West African stage as chairman of the Authority of Heads of State and Government of ECOWAS.
All I have is to very sincerely congratulate you for the way you have stabilized your country, and the small contributions Nigeria was able to make throughout those difficult times that you went through. Also, thank you very much for the way you are handling the ECO's responsibility. We have 1 or 2 countries that I believe we will discuss when we go to Senegal today, tomorrow, and maybe and the day after.
Stability in West Africa is a feat which President Buhari believes can be replicated on the continent, and he believes in actively engaging with political authorities on the need for enhanced security cooperation. Mrs. Johnson Sirleaf is meeting with President Buhari to brief him on some of the findings she has had in her 2 days of consultations with the ECOWAS Commission. She obviously shares President Buhari's passion for improved security in West Africa as a priority for development.
We also exchanged with him some of the developments in our sub-region, political developments, economic developments, to get some of his wise counsel on how we can ensure that in monitoring the situation, that all the work of our country, all that we are doing for the integration of our economies, all that we are doing to maintain peace and stability in all of our countries.
Discussions surrounding peace and security will continue over the next 2 days between both presidents and other leaders on the continent as they meet in Senegal at the 3rd Dakar International Forum on Peace and Security in Africa.
We're going to take a short break now, but after that break, we'll turn our attention to the West African country, the Gambia, ruled for 22 years by Yahya Jammeh. In an unprecedented move, he considered defeat in elections held in his country. Stay with us.
Silverbird Television.
The point is this, is the executive branch. The president has...
Me, Segun Ojumu. On this program, we'll be bringing you news, views, and exclusive interviews.
Not political will to, to bring back people, our medical experts that are on that.
Praise the efforts so far.
The synergy that has been developed.
Arrived Abuja from Washington, D.C., where he joined President Barack Obama.
The pause of the economic recession was over. Now Senator Saki in an interactive...
to capture the moment for in-house in session.
With the powers that be.
Welcome back, and if you're just joining us, this is Hindsight. Now, Yahya Jammeh surprised his critics by accepting defeat in an election after 22 years in power. Mr. Jammeh has a reputation for ruthlessness. He was born in May 1965. He came to power in 1994 as a 29-year-old army lieutenant. He became a president who portrays himself as a devout Muslim with miraculous powers, such as power to cure people of AIDS and infertility. He also believes that homosexuality threatens human existence. Mr. Jammeh won 4 multi-party elections before he was finally defeated. Of the president's 2 wives, now one of them officially holds the First Lady title after his victory in 2011. Now, ECOWAS refused to endorse him after that election, and a signal that his credibility among African leaders has plummeted, or had plummeted. ECOWAS maintained voters and the opposition had been cowed by repression and intimidation. His decision to withdraw from the Commonwealth in 2013, which had been pushing for reforms in the tiny West African state, was a further sign of Mr. Jammeh's growing isolation. Now, the world was still in shock, shocked disbelief at Mr. Jammeh's decision when the autocratic president of Angola, Jose Eduardo dos Santos, told the world he will be standing down after almost 40 years. State Radio's announcement on Friday that he will stand down next year appears to be the beginning of the end of one of Africa's longest reigns. The hope is it could open a new chapter for a country largely closed off to the outside world. When Dos Santos, now 74, became president in 1979, war was already raging between the MPLA government and the UNITA rebels. 4 years after independence from Portugal, today, Angola has been at peace only since 2002 and is still deeply scarred by conflict that has become a vicious proxy battleground in the Cold War rivalry between of the United States and the Soviet Union. Now, let's leave all of that for a minute, because I'm being joined in the studios by Philip Inyam. He's National Assembly correspondent for the New Telegraph newspapers. Now, Mr. Philip, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Mr. Shegun, for having me.
How shocked were you? We'll start with the Gambia. How shocked were you by? Which one shocked you most? That's the right question. Which one shocked you most? The fact that Yahya Jammeh lost the election, or the fact that he conceded?
Well, I would say that the two of them, because
Okay.
in the first place, I never expected that he would lose that election. Why? Because this issue came out at the last ordinary session of the ECOWAS Parliament.
Okay.
And the parliamentarians were concerned, with the state of politicking in the Gambia, and with the fact that the constitution presently run by the Gambian government does not prescribe, a term limit. So he was going in for the, I think for the
fifth time,
fourth or fifth time, and they were concerned, but the parliamentarians from his country were still in his support, saying that, well, he has done very well. So if that's what the people want, they should allow them to continue. And those from other West African countries say, okay, if that's the case, let there be a level playing field. And they assured the ECOWAS Parliament that actually there was going to be a level playing field. I was very pessimistic. I never believed them, but I was shocked when the result of the election came out. He lost, and then secondly, he considered defeat.
What do you put that down to? His concession. What do we owe that to?
Well, I think democracy is being entrenched in the West African sub-region, and in fact in Africa. And I think also our leaders are learning from some of our past leaders who made mistakes. For example, you see the case of Gbagbo.
Yeah,
how he ended. And then also the case of former Libyan strongman, Muammar Gaddafi. So when it's time, when people are now saying that, look, it's time for you to leave the stage, you should leave. And I think he has proven that he's a wise man.
Now, I should ask you again, what does Mr. Barrow's victory, what does his victory mean for the Gambia now? He is new to politics. He has never held public office before. He's been likened to Donald Trump, who was politically inexperienced, but ruled to power in a surprise, in a shock win. I mean, so what does his victory mean for the Gambia as far as you're concerned?
Well, I think his victory now will create, we open the space, because with the outgoing Gambian president, the space was stifled. People were not allowed to express themselves. But now, with Barrow coming in, the space will be open. So even the political space will be open, so that more players will now be encouraged to come in. And then Gambia can also now befriend more countries, because you could see that the friendship, Gambia's friendship with other countries was limited because of
they were living in isolation.
Yeah, because of his policies. But now with Barrow coming in, you can see that he's coming in with very liberal policies, and he has started talking. So I believe that Gambia will now be free from some of these policies that made them to be an isolated country.
Now, again, is the fact that the election was largely free and fair, we believe. Otherwise, perhaps the incumbent would have won again.
Sure.
But beyond that, what does that tell us about the Gambian electorate? Were they just simply fed up with the old order and wanted someone new and fresh? What did you hear about the voting patterns there?
Yeah, you know that 22 years is a long time, and having stayed for 22 years, he ruled with a very tight fist, very strong fist. He was a leader who appropriated almost everything to himself. For example, even titles, that he took all the titles in the world, Alhaji, Professor, Malam, Doctor, and everything. So that tells you the kind of leader he was. So I believe that the people of the Gambia were actually tired you know, with the leadership style. And they wanted a change. And you could see that the political parties too were wise enough. They had to rally around Barrow. You know, there was a coalition that gave him this victory.
Okay, let's leave West Africa now and go to Angola. That was also a surprise. It came out of nowhere, some will argue. Dos Santos has been in power for a very long time, almost 40 years now. Now, what do you make of his own decision to step down from office?
Well, I think it will not be different from the issue of Yahya Jammeh. He has stayed for quite a long while. And you see, when you overstay your welcome, naturally you know because the support you receive at the initial stage starts waning. And I believe that's what happened to Dos Santos. Even though he on average, I'll say that he has been a good leader. And I believe he has been able to stabilize Angola. But because he overstayed his welcome, the people were now yearning for a change. They wanted a change, you know, a new lease of life. And I believe he too understood that, yeah, my time is up. Now that the people have said, look, we don't want you again, it's better to step aside.
Now, he was in power for almost 40 years. How would you see Angola, you know, has been impacted by Israel? You mentioned stability. But beyond that, what else can we point a finger at to say, okay, this was a singular achievement of this man? Remember, in spite of the oil boom has turned to bust now, and there's still this wide disparity between the rich and the poor. Luanda, the capital, I believe, is, you see high skyscrapers everywhere, but go down a bit and you see evidence of deep poverty.
Yeah, in terms of human development, he may not have done enough. But then, let's talk about crisis. You know, he's been able to douse the tension in the country in his 40 years in power. You know, most of the crises that were witnessed in Angola before he came in, those things never happen again, or I mean, not to that magnitude. So I think he's been able to stabilize the political environment. And from here, I think that the person taking over from him will be able to build on that. So in a way, he has helped the Angolan people, you know, to stabilize the system. Yeah, he has laid a good foundation.
Okay, talking about stability and good foundation, let's come back to West Africa. Ghana is holding key elections tomorrow. Right, 8 candidates in the field. It's quite a number of candidates there. But what do you think? What do you think will determine who wins ultimately? Because there's economy is going to be a key factor. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, of course there are 8 candidates in that elections, but it's a straight fight between the incumbent and the NPP's Nana, you know, Adu. It's a straight fight between the two, and there are issues. They're actually campaigning on issues. One, the incumbent is being challenged. He's been accused of running the worst government in the history of Ghana in terms of corruption. That is the most corrupt government ever in the history of Ghana. I know that is a very big dent, you know, on the image of the incumbent. And then for him to come out of this is going to be very, very difficult for him. It's a tension-soaked election. In fact, analysts have concluded that it's the most highly contested elections ever in the history of Ghana, at least from 1992 to date. You know, they've never seen this kind of campaign going on. So this election in Ghana is going to be determined on issues. And first is the issue of corruption, the issue of economy.
True. I know Ghana is in the midst of a crippling power crisis right now for the past 3 years.
Yeah. And you know, before now, Ghana had even celebrated, I think, 10 years or whatever. But suddenly, this setting. So those are the things that the incumbent is going to, is grappling with. And the opposition is banking on that to wrest majority of the 15 million voters to their side.
15 million voters, but what do you know about the percentages? What percentage of these 15 million are people from under the age of 18, from 18 to maybe let's say 40 or 26. And do you think that these are the people that will determine who becomes Ghana's next president?
Exactly, those are the people that will determine. In fact, Ghana's demography, it's not so different from Nigeria's. Yeah, so majority of the people who are going to vote are those within this age limit. And that will determine. So for now, it's a 50-50 situation. But at the end of the day, I believe that the opposition may just have their way. And you know, they have also adopted the change slogan. Like it happened in Nigeria in 2015.
Okay, very quickly. Italy, the Prime Minister has tabled his resignation, Matteo Renzi. He lost an election. He staked his integrity. He staked his Prime Minister's position there. He lost. Now, did he really have to stake his, his position, on that vote?
Well, to me, that's the hallmark of leadership. You have to take responsibility, and that's the problem we have in Africa. Leaders don't take responsibility. Even when it happens, they want to blame other people. But he came out and said, look, I'm going to step aside. I think that's what a leader should do. That's the hallmark of leadership. So I applaud him for that.
Very quickly, Austria, there was also an election there. What's his name again? Van der Bellen. He won against the far-right opponent. Now, there are other elections coming up in Netherlands, another one in France, Germany too. Italy too will be holding elections. Now, are we talking about the rise of the far-right? Do you see the far-right parties winning these key elections?
Yeah, even if they don't win, it's like they're making inroads. They're gradually making inroads into the political arena, in Europe. And I think they are being encouraged, with the victory of Donald Trump.
Okay.
The exits of Britain from EU.
Yeah.
These things are now pushing them. They are fueling them. They know they can do it. So it's possible. It's possible that they may win. Yeah.
We must leave it at that for now. Thank you so much for coming to the studio. Philip Inyam, he's a National Assembly correspondent for the New Telegraph. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for coming, sir. We look forward to bringing you here again.
I'm always available.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's all we can take for now. Please, let's keep the conversation going online. We're on Twitter, tweet us, and we'll tweet you right back at HindsightSTV, or email us on hindsightstv silverbird@gmail.com. Till I come your way again next time, I am Shegun Ojumu saying goodbye and God bless.